Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining today. This is another great episode of District 31 Club Close-Up, the video series where I interview clubs from District 31. We learn about their clubs, the great things they're doing to engage their existing members and recruit new ones. I'm your host, Christian Austin. I am the District 31 Public Relations Manager for 2023-2024. And in today's episode, we are joined by the Chelmsford Toastmaster Club officers. The Chelmsford Toastmasters Club is a community club, so anybody can join their club. They were founded in 1979. Wow, over 40 years they've been active, and their officers continue to keep them active today. The meeting type is a mix. We've heard from clubs that are virtual. We've heard from clubs that are in person. Well, you're in luck if you want to go to Chelmsford. They both have a virtual option and an in-person option. We'll provide some more information at the end of this interview about when the meetings are and where to go if you'd like to join a Chelmsford Toastmaster meeting. I'd like to congratulate the club as well. A fantastic year that just passed, achieving Select Distinguished Club in the Distinguished Club program. So let's give them a round of applause for that. 8 out of 10 possible points in the program, and oh, so close to getting that 9th point in President's Distinguished Club, just one level away. That's what next year's for, right? But again, fantastic year this year. Great job getting members engaged and getting members to give speeches. Today, we are going to do a panel type discussion interview. It is going to focus on different aspects of the club. I'll call on an officer to answer a question, and then after the officer answers that question, they'll hand it off to another officer who may elaborate on that question. After the question is fully answered by the officer who'd like to participate, they'll hand it back over to me as the panel moderator, and then we'll move on to the next question. But before getting into questions, let's learn a little about the Chelmsford Toastmaster officers. I'd like to call each of the officers in alphabetical order to say a little about themselves and their role within the club. Let's start with Sangeeta. Sangeeta, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure, Christian, thank you. My name is Sangeeta Mahajan. I am the treasurer for the current fiscal year at Chelmsford Toastmasters Club, and I was the president the last year. I've been with Chelmsford Toastmasters for about 7 years now, and it is part of my routine to go to the club every other week. And I joined this club when my manager advised me to improve on my public speaking skills. And I found this club close to my house and I jumped on it. And I've been a member ever since.
Thank you for that, Sangeeta. Great to have you here this evening joining us for this panel discussion. Moving on next, Dave, can you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks, Christian. My name's Dave McCarthy, and I'm the club president for the 2023-24 year. So I joined the Chelmsford Toastmasters just about 1 year ago, but I had had some previous experience in Toastmasters going back a few decades. I had previously been a club president in District 53, and I had founded a club and actually been an area governor as well. So I'd been pretty involved in the program for several years, and then a career change kind of took me out of the Toastmasters world. So, you know, as our careers change now, my wife and I decided that this would be a great time to get re-involved in Toastmasters. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you for that, Dave, and experience both inside and outside the district. I was going to say first year and then stepping up to president. What a veteran within Toastmasters, if not Chelmsford. Moving on now, Debbie, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Debbie McCarthy, and I've been in the Toastmasters like Dave, joined about a year ago. I am the newly elected VP of Education, and I am an entrepreneur. and I work as a holistic life and health coach. So I joined Toastmasters to obviously improve my speaking skills, but I'm also recording YouTube videos, audio meditations. I just recorded my first podcast. Yeah. And so this has tremendously helped me feel more confident about my abilities. And I'm just thrilled to be here and part of this organization. So thank you, Christian.
Thank you for that, Debbie, and congratulations on your new role. A thing that we don't think about Toastmasters, we were creating podcasts or videos, a lot less editing if we're comfortable with what we're saying from all the practice we get from Toastmasters. Moving on now to Mick. Mick, could you please introduce yourself?
I'm Mick Miller, the current Sergeant at Arms, and I've been with Chelmsford Toastmasters for about 20 years, been president several times in various years, and have also been, when it was the area governor, I was that for a year as well. Yeah, I'm the Sergeant at Arms, which means I have the keys, so that, you know, it's kind of important for me to get there on time. Right. Roberta?
Okay, I'm Roberta Miller. Good enough. I'm Roberta Miller. I've been in Chelmsford Toastmasters for 6 years. And this year I have the great honor and privilege of being a non-officer, a former officer. I've been secretary, VP Public Relations, VP Education, President, and Treasurer, and I managed to work myself out of a job this year, so I'm very proud of that. I do still serve as the club webmaster, which is a lot of fun.
And let's not forget your area director role a couple of years ago as well.
Oh yes, that's right, area director in my sordid past as well.
All right, fantastic. Thank you everyone for the introductions. Getting to know you a little more and your role in the club. Now let's kick off some questions to learn a little more about your club. Let's dig a little deeper. And for the first question, I'd like to ask a general club question of Sangeeta. Sangeeta, can you describe an aspect of your club that other clubs may not have that adds value to your membership? Sangeeta.
Sure. So Chelmsford Toastmasters Club is a fun-loving, friendly community club, and it's in its 45th year running, and I'm very proud of that. We have a very supportive culture, and that helps build the self-confidence and trust amongst one another. And this makes it possible for everybody to achieve their goals for joining the club in various areas of personality development and leadership. Mick will expand more on some of the exceptional practices we have in the club that some of the other clubs in the district can take advantage of.
As Sangeeta described, as a rule, we're a laid-back, relaxed club. But one thing that we take seriously is evaluations. As with all Toastmasters clubs, we have the official evaluator and they have checklists, and but every club does that. And that's of course quite helpful. We make it a point to have the evaluators talk to the speakers beforehand so that the speaker can give some insight on what they would like the evaluator to look at, their particular weak points. In addition, after someone speaks, we take a minute and then everybody in the room gives a written evaluation to the speaker. Now, it's not quite extensive, there's only a minute, but on the other hand, a speaker gets written down a variety of opinions of what's going on. And that's, as any experienced speaker knows, if you do this, some people think it's great and some people don't. So, the speakers get that experience. In addition, we have a tripod. So if a speaker would like to, we can set it up for them and they can record their speech. It's kind of brutal. It doesn't lie, but it's an excellent way to find out exactly how you look to the audience, because in that case, your cell phone is in the audience. All right. Christian, I'd like to hand it back to you, and I believe the next question is for us to give some specific examples of how we're keeping members engaged.
Thank you, Nick, and thank you for that answer. Evaluations, very important part of the club meeting. It's not only about speaking, it's about giving that constructive feedback for members to improve their speaking skills. I just had one question to elaborate on the evaluations. Are you giving out evaluation forms to members to give their individual evaluations? You ask them to take notes. What is that format for individuals to give a speaker an evaluation that is not the evaluator?
Right. It's typically kind of general because it goes to everyone in the audience. So we may have a newbie there who has never seen this before. And we don't want people to spend all of their time being another evaluator, but to enjoy the speech. But it's very much overviews and impressions and just coherence of the presentation. And that also tends to lead to just the way our evaluators and the evaluatees interact. It's very much kind of laid back. It's like, Christian, you gave that speech. This went really well for you. That didn't go so well. What can you do about it? But it's just this relaxed, friendly atmosphere, as if, just friends around a campfire or something like that, rather than, more intense. And we found that relaxed atmosphere allows people to remember the feedback, particularly the things that could use improvement.
Great couple of points there, Mick. The relaxed feedback. People are probably a lot less hesitant to give the feedback too when it's more casual like that, and they don't feel like they could potentially insult the speaker by giving a critique, which is a problem in many clubs where people hold back that critique. Also, you mentioned other people have different opinions of the speech. There's only one evaluator. The speaker doesn't get those other opinions as well. Really great points, Nick. Thanks for that. Did anyone else want to say anything about that question before we move on to the next one?
Just that we do indeed have a very short form to help people out. So even someone that comes to the meeting as a guest or as a very new member, they do have something to guide them. You get a little bit of a boost of your evaluation skills by using the form.
That's great. Yeah, the form gives you the checklist to go by, especially if you're a new member. You don't know exactly what type of feedback to give a speaker. All right, Roberta, you just had a response, but we're going to ask you another question now. Our next question now, I want to learn a little more about membership in your club. You did a great job as a club recruiting 9 new members last year. Let's a round of applause to that. As important it is to recruit new members, it's also important to retain members. Can you please give some specific examples of how you're keeping members engaged in the club? This can be both inside, outside the club, any way that you're keeping your members engaged. Roberta.
Certainly, Christian. As you know, as Sangeeta mentioned, we are a club of very long standing, and all clubs that have been around a while have their ebbs and flows. And we had a definite ebb tide 4 or 5 years ago in terms of membership numbers and membership engagement, to the point where the district gave us a club coach. And her name is Dion Toogood, and I would like to give a huge shout out to Dion because she helped us so much. And in fact, she liked us so much that she's now a member. But she helped us pay much more attention than we were at the time to meeting quality. We learned to, number one, we trimmed our agenda by quite a bit. We had a 2-hour agenda that we really didn't stick to that much. We cut it down to an hour and a half, then an hour and a quarter. Then when COVID came and we started going virtual, down to an hour. But it moved much more briskly and we stuck to it. We started on time, we ended on time. It kept the meetings from dragging. People came, I think, in part because they knew that they were going to get value and they were going to get out on time. We also worked very hard on getting our meetings organized ahead of time. That's the out of the meeting part, the work to engage people in signing up for roles early and preparing for them. We just encourage that in multiple ways by reaching out to the members to ask them personally, hey, would you do this role this time? We at one point had a meeting rotation that was automated to spread the roles around so everybody got a chance to practice one. We've done it different ways as different people have been in the VPE role, as different people of different experience levels have been in the club. But that makes the meetings go smoother. We don't spend valuable time trying to scramble to get it organized when people actually expect to be at the meeting. And also the quality of the speeches, and in fact, the performance of all the roles went up because people were able to be better prepared. So, Dave, could you tell us, this allowed us to have more fun. Can you tell us what we've done with the time that we've given ourselves by being more efficient?
Yeah, I must go back to your point about the quality of the meetings, because that was the thing that attracted me as one of the 9 new members this past year. Was the meeting was, crisp. It's always well run. There's good quality speakers, and when you have a really good meeting, I think that attracts new members when they come as guests. People want to be a part of an organization that is excelling and where people are, showing that they have some skills and some knowledge, and they see it as a place where they can grow and, become better speakers. So, and that really is the objective of the whole program. And I think that's kind of where we're headed in the 2023-24 years, to kind of continue to accelerate in the same direction, having high quality meetings, using a mentor program where we help the new people, help them get going and train them with certain roles, give them the boost or the push they might need for speaking, and, just get them indoctrinated into the program. Debbie, can you talk a little bit about things that make our club fun?
Yes, definitely. So the things that I find to be the funnest as far as the meeting roles go are table topics. That's like one of my favorites. I love signing up for table topics. We laugh so much. And I've got to say that one of my favorite table topics that I did was something called Dear Abby, where I read some Dear Abby questions. Dear Abby is, newspaper columnist, funny questions. And I asked volunteers to step up and answer and give the practical advice from the question. And it was so funny. I mean, even on the chat, our members were commenting and and everyone raised their hand. I must have had 7 or 8 different people raise their hand. We had time that night to ask that many questions, and we were just laughing so much. I just loved it. And I think that really just kind of gets everybody loosened up when you laugh. And, we also have some really funny word master word of the days. What was the one, Dave, that we had that Ethan did?
Calipingian.
Oh, we're not going to tell you what it means.
You can look it up.
Look it up.
Literally every speaker that got up that day used Calipingian. Yeah, I mean, it was just like hilarious. So those are the kinds of things that kind of get the club loosened up, everybody comfortable. Once you start laughing, people are less afraid, even the new members, to get up and go volunteer to do table topics, because everybody is welcoming and inviting them to do it. So I think those are the kinds of things that kind of keep us all coming back, and yeah, so we love that. We love to laugh. So thanks, Christian. Any other questions you have for us?
Thank you, Debbie. And I have Calipingian in here. I didn't have enough time to look it up, and I can't use it properly as the word of the day, but I will be putting that in the show notes. I have to say, as you were talking about the Dear Abby table topics, I couldn't stop smiling myself, thinking about the type of responses that our club would get out of that table topics. Definitely have that queued up. And for all of our listeners as well, think about adding that to your meeting and the future table topics. A couple of comments I have though, really astonishing how far you've come having a club coach to being a select distinguished club this year. You mentioned that the meetings have become more concise, from 2 hours down to 1 hour now, respecting people's time, people getting more value out of it because they come to the meeting and they don't see wasted time. They're having fun in the meetings. And I like how Dave described them as being crisp meetings now. The one question I did have, and this could take a whole section of the panel discussion, so we can make it brief or as long as you want within reason, your mentorship program. How are you assigning mentors to proteges in your club? And is it a formal mentoring program or is it more informal where you connect people who can become buddies and encourage each other? Would anyone like to take that question?
So so I can take that question. So let me kind of explain to you, and that was going to be the next question that we were going to talk about, our mentoring program. So would you like me to talk about it now?
Absolutely, Debbie.
Okay. All right. So newly elected VP of Education, I can only comment on how I was mentored and what took place. So let me start with that. A week or so after I officially joined Toastmasters, Dion Toogood, again, our wonderful club coach, who also was the prior mentoring program lead, reached out to me on email and asked for 15 or 20 minutes of my time. I said, great. She said, I just want to go through goals, why you decided to join Toastmasters. And so we got on the phone and she gave me some ideas on which path perhaps that I would choose based on what my profession is. Of course, I selected effective coaching because I'm a coach. She asked me some personal questions about what are your hobbies? What kinds of things do you like to do in your spare time? And that kind of spurred lots of ideas for future speeches. She also, after that, we ended our call. I told her, yes, I would love to have a mentor. And so I think what happens, Roberta, and please correct me, that she went back to the executive committee meeting and discussed our new members and then asked for who would like to be Deb's mentor. I'm not exactly sure how that happened. Do you want to comment on that?
Certainly, Debbie. And yes, she did bring all the information she gathered back to the executive committee because it was a club quality thing, general impressions of our club as well as the individuals. But we did need to find mentors for all these new members. And we did match them up based on people's availability of the more experienced members and what would be a good fit, someone whose interest matched the interests of someone who is available to mentor them, someone who was looking for a skill that they happened to be good at. So both of those factors went into account, but it was definitely a personalized sort of thing. Who have we got as potential mentors? Who have we got as people that need mentors? Where's the fit? And we're not so big that we can't do that.
So I was assigned Mick. I lucked out. I got Mick. So Mick and I are both engineers. So maybe that's I don't know, maybe that's the thing we have in common. But what was great is that he immediately reached out to me and he, encouraged me to sign up for my first meeting role. Because I was a little nervous. I was kind of like, ooh, I've never done this before. What should I do? And he says, well, be a word master, be a table topics master. So, and then he, once I started doing that, I started getting a little bit more comfortable. And then he started encouraging me, okay, it's time maybe to take on your first speech. I was like, okay, icebreaker, And so he gently nudged me. It wasn't too pushy. And the rest just kind of flowed after that. And what I want to also comment on is that about 4 months into being a Toastmaster, Dion then reached out to me again as part of the mentor program and just asked about what are we doing well and where can we improve as a Toastmaster club and as a mentor program. And I loved it. Talked to her for 15 or 20 minutes, gave her great feedback. I'm pretty sure she took that back to the executive committee meeting and changes were made or whatever occurred after that. But she followed up again, asking me for my opinion. And I think that was really important to have that second touch point from her. So, yeah. So we've got a very comprehensive program. And, you know, we've got a couple newer members now. I'm looking forward to being a mentor. You know, I kind of feel like I know the ropes a little bit better. And so I'm looking forward to that. So that's coming hopefully soon once we get some more new members. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Debbie. And just to make everyone aware, in Pathways, there's a Pathways path that opens up. It has projects in being a mentor as well. So you can become a certified Pathways mentor if you do decide to take on that role within your club in the formal Pathways system. The other thing I wanted to ask about the mentoring program, I really like the fact that there seems to be an interview with a potential protege that wants a mentor. Does that typically work as a phone or an in-person interview where the person that's interviewing you has some questions that they send back to the executive committee and the executive committee matches you up with a mentor? You're shaking your head. Is that pretty much
accurate? So Dion just called me on the phone. She just physically called me on the phone. And she had this list, and she's actually sent me since then, since I'm now running the mentoring program, her list of 19 questions. I don't know if I'll use all those in the 15 or 20 minutes, but there's some great questions that I can draw from. Yeah. So, and then I'm sure the feedback went back to the executive committee. Yeah.
And then that's great, Deb. You led into my second question that I was going to ask, statement/question with feedback. This is really important for any aspect of a club, to solicit feedback from your members to see if they're getting value out of the club, if they're meeting their goals. You're doing that for the mentorship program as well, which is fantastic, to find out if the mentor-protege relationship is working, what the club can potentially do to facilitate that, to make it work better. Feedback can be part of any aspect of your club to help improve the quality of club meetings and member satisfaction overall.
Definitely.
Thanks for sharing that about the mentorship program. Does anyone else want to add anything else about the mentorship program?
As a new member myself, I mean, I can second what Deb told you, and you know, particularly with the calls from Dion, and the second call I think was particularly helpful because she solicited, you know, more feedback after we had several months of experience with the club. And I think that's a very wise thing to do, is to get the feedback and again, you know, feed that back into the club and, you know, look for ways to improve and optimize.
Thanks for that, Dave. Yeah, improve and optimize, get better as time moves on. And you said that earlier in the panel discussion about the meetings were too long. You thought about that, you reevaluated, you changed. It wasn't the same old thing over and over again. And that's how your club had such success this year, by changing things up and optimizing your approach. Before we move on to the conclusion, I had one additional question. And I was interested in knowing, sounds like there's several new officers in the club, in particular, Dave and Debbie, since you're new members. As a club member or a club officer now, how do you go about recruiting your club leaders? Is there anything in particular you're looking for as a part of your mentorship program? Roberta's shaking her head. Roberta, would you like to take this one?
Yes, please. Yeah, you hit on exactly why we were going to talk about mentorship at this point. So thanks, Debbie, for explaining how we do the mentor program, because that makes my job a little easier. When we went to recruit officers this year, again, it was very different because we had, at this point, enough new members that we could have some new officers. You have to thank all the people that basically swapped officer roles during the years when we were smaller, but now we really were able to get some new blood. So we did have a formal nominating committee, as TI tells you you should. I happened to be the immediate past president that year, so I was the chair, got a couple people to help me. We did have Dion as one of them because she had just had that experience of doing that general survey. And we identified people that we thought would make good officers, people who had at least some bandwidth, people that had the enthusiasm. And then we used the mentors as our entree to those people, figuring that the mentors knew them best, knew what their strengths were and their weaknesses, would be able to approach them the best. You'd already had a rapport, hopefully, and that we could make the opportunity as attractive as possible. And we wouldn't get just the knee-jerk reaction of, oh, I don't have time, because nobody's got time. But it has to be something that's worth doing when you don't have time. And we had really excellent success with that. People that we really wanted to say yes, like Dave and Debbie, did say yes. And we have what I think is going to be an excellent executive committee this year. So again, I'm going to pass this off to Dave to let us know what it was like from the perspective of somebody being recruited. Tell us about that experience.
So from my perspective, I clearly didn't have the time. I could have taken that stance and clearly, back that up. But this is a fun group. It's an organization that's moving, in a good direction. And I think most importantly is you can see that we work together well as a team. There's teamwork. There's a nice group of people to work with. So there isn't this sense of, oh, I have to do it all by myself. I have to do everything and it's going to be some burden. No, we've got a great group of people. We've got a great team. We work well together and then we have fun together. And at the same time, there's a sense of we make a difference. We're helping a lot of newer members now and developing them and growing them. And I think that's going to propel us forward as an organization. And, a year from now, you're going to want to talk to us when we're a President's Distinguished Club. So.
Two thumbs up to that, Dave. I would like to talk to you again, regardless of your status. But when you become a President's Distinguished Club, I will absolutely want to talk to you about how the new officers that the mentors recruited, how they made that happen this upcoming year. A lot of good points there. And one that I had not heard before, but it makes a lot of sense when you described it. The mentors being the conduit to the new club officers. They have that rapport built instead of an officer approaching a person that they maybe don't talk to that much, or that they occasionally have a conversation with, saying, hey, why don't you become an officer next year? And it wasn't really on their minds. They don't really have that ability to have that conversation and to let them know that they have confidence in that person to step up into that leadership role. Who better to do that than the mentor that has that personal relationship? And it's very believable when they say, I think you can do it. I think you can be a leader of this club. So that is a great point to anybody who is looking to develop the next club leaders. Let it start with the mentor-protege relationship.
Absolutely.
Would anyone else like to say anything about the mentoring program before we move on to the next and concluding question? All right, for the...
well, hold on, Christian, just a second. I think that this would fit in here. Dave mentioned quality meetings, and part of that came up is that we start on time, we end on time. People do the prep. But something else that has changed over the years that I think has really done the club a lot of good is we've changed officers' meetings from the past. So now we have them every month. And that just is a really good pace. I mean, Toastmasters year is 12 months long. So, they may go the time where you're supposed to do something last month and you didn't, but then you're reminded a month later. We were used to doing quarterly. So if you blow something off for a quarter, by the time you get around to it, it's half a year later. And that's not happening with us. So I wanted to point out that part of a quality meeting for us is that we have our officers meetings. Again, 1 hour, we don't spend our lives at it, but for 1 hour a month, we have the officers meetings, and that's really helped.
Nick, now that you say that, my home club, we personally have the monthly meetings, and we've always done it that way. And to think back to do quarterly meetings, there's so much that can get lost in that gap if you're not taking notes on what needs to happen in the upcoming months, the upcoming meetings. And as we talked about several times during this discussion, the club adapting. It's very hard to adapt if you're only meeting 4 times a year versus every single month. A really good point for anyone out there who is meeting quarterly, maybe consider taking Mick's advice and changing that to a monthly meeting and making your club more efficient because of that from a planning perspective. Thanks for that, Mick.
Sure.
All right, we are towards the end of this discussion. We talked about keeping meetings tight. We want to keep this tight as well. We could talk for a long time, but we have to conclude at some point. And for the concluding question, I'd like to ask Sangeeta, why should somebody come visit the Chelmsford Toastmasters Club? Sangeeta.
Absolutely, love the question. Like you have heard from everybody, we are a very casual, laid-back, fun-loving group that meet every other week to build some public speaking qualities in ourselves. But we were not this way before. We have struggled for several years in the past, and I should bring that up as well. We had a lot of problems motivating, keeping our members motivated, or bringing in new members to join our club. And that was really painful period for us. But with the club coaching program and the mentorship program and the various TLI sessions that the district conducts, we really worked hard and took advantage of all these programs and turned that around and made it a success. So we really had worked hard to come to where we are today. And now, being a community club and with so many members from various working backgrounds, our meetings are so interesting and the contents in the segments are so much full of variety that there's fun more than anything else for everybody who are attending our meetings. So if you are a visitor and want to join our meeting on Zoom or in person, I assure you, you won't be disappointed. We have a short 1-hour meeting with full agenda, and we have a capacity for 3 speeches and complete evaluation segment. People in the club come well prepared for the meetings. It is not just it is casual, but we take it pretty well, and we come well prepared for it, and we are very mindful of time management, and we have time to socialize after the meeting with some little snacks to go along with, and that helps anybody who's interested to connect and network. So we have all aspects of this meeting, and we just make it happen in 1 hour or so. So there is takeaway for everyone who comes to our meetings, members or not members, and they find it fulfilling. We assure you that if you come to our meeting, it'll be time well spent, and you will make it a memorable visit to our club. So that is what I think, that why somebody should come and visit our club anytime. And visitors are welcome to come and attend as many times as they want. We won't pressure them to become members after attending, n number of meetings. No, you can be a visitor as long as you want, and just come and have fun with us.
Thank you, Sangeeta. And would you be able to add when your club meetings are and where they're located?
Yes, absolutely. So we meet on the 2nd Thursday and the 4th Thursday from January to October. Our 2nd Thursday meeting is in person, and we meet at the Chelmsford Center for Arts at the Chelmsford Center on 4 North. And our second meeting is on the 4th Thursday, which is a Zoom meeting, and the link is available on our website. In November and December, however, we switched the time because of the vacation of the holiday period. So we meet on the first and the third Thursday. Our first Thursday meeting is in person and the third Thursday meeting is remote. But yes, we have 2 meetings in a month and we meet all year round.
Thank you for adding that, Sangeeta. And what we'll do in the show notes and the end of this video, we're going to post information about how to contact the club, how to find out more about their meetings on the club website. If you're listening to this video or podcast in the future, make sure to check out the website for the most up-to-date meeting information and the Zoom link for the virtual aspect of the club meetings. I'd like to ask anyone before we conclude the interview, so many great thoughts that we can take away that your club is doing, very inspirational, from club coaching to select distinguish. But before we end, I'd like to ask, does anyone have any other concluding thoughts that they would like to leave other Toastmasters?
Well, something is sort of an overview, not specific, to Toastmasters, meetings itself, is that what often happens at a Toastmasters meeting, 2 to 3 speeches. What is a speech? Somebody who cares about something has thought about this, researched it, and followed some Toastmasters guidelines so that they can come across coherently and clearly. And it's high quality information. And the people or the person who's speaking cares about what they're telling you. And I just think that that's a rare opportunity, right? We tend to hear the same blather, the sound bites, politicians who have a egocentric perspective, et cetera, et cetera. But here in Toastmasters, someone says, hey, I care about this. I'm going to research. I'm going to tell these people about what I care about. And that's just rare in society.
That's a great point, Mick. And the evaluation portion of the meeting, the club being a community, all the members care about each other. They're listening carefully to the speech and giving constructive feedback, not just giving that canned response that they think people want to hear. They genuinely care about members achieving their goals and getting better. What I heard tonight, and part of Toastmasters, is those listening skills as well. So many great points. Could probably go on for 5 minutes with just my bullet points, but in-depth evaluations. You want an in-depth evaluation? Go to Chelmsford Toastmaster Club. Everyone gives a written evaluation for the speaker, not just the evaluator. Crisp, tightly run meetings and fun table topics. A mentorship program where the proteges and the mentors share similar interests through an interviewing process, customized matchup between a protege and a mentor. And if you didn't think you were a leader, your mentor is going to inspire you and let you know, maybe you didn't join Toastmasters to be a leader, but they are going to look for the leadership in you, and you may become the next Chelmsford Toastmaster leader on the executive board. Join Chelmsford Toastmasters, various backgrounds, variety, fun, and maybe even a Dear Abby table topic session. I thank you, all of you, for joining me tonight. I wish you the best Toastmaster year you've had yet, and go get that President's Distinguished Club. Thank you, everyone.